So this is what happened is I put a backing together for a quilt. And if you know me, I usually do square quilts. And this quilt was not square. I loaded up the back. It looked really great. I'm like, perfect. I'm going to throw the top on. We're going to get this started, get this quilted. And I've got it all quilted except for the very last line through. Well, I probably have two more. Anyways, and my back is not long enough. And I cannot for the life of me think what happened. And then I remembered this quilt is not square. One side is longer than the other. And I paid no attention to that whatsoever when I put it on the machine. So I am going to show you how I'm going to add fabric to the back of this quilt without unloading it from the long arm. It's a little tricky and it takes a little bit of brain power, but it is possible. So we're going to give this a try. I'm Becky from Patchwork Posse, and I have an online quilt group, Patchworkers Plus. In the description, you will see a link to join me for a challenge that happens 3 times per year that will help you discover the bottom of the piles. So with that, let's take a look at how we're going to fix the backing on this quilt. All right, this is the offending quilt. And we got to figure out how to add, because when you look at this, I'm seriously missing just like ½ an inch maybe. I don't know. I debated on just finishing it and then cutting this edge. I don't know that anybody would notice, but we're going to try something new. We're going to add fabric to the backing here so we can make it a little bit longer. I'll end up with a second seam along here, but it is what it is. All right, with the camera adjusted so you can see everything, it is a little bit messy, so I apologize for that, but, and you're going to see the back side of me, but we are going to fix this on. What I have done is I've already put together my backing, and I'm going to make sure that the right side of my backing is going to be facing the right side of my fabric backing. So it is a little cumbersome and obnoxious, but what we're going to do is we're going to take this last pin out. I'm going to loosen that up a little bit. I'm going to grab the corner here, I'm going to line them up, and then I'm going to repin this edge, or this last pin. We're going to stretch our fabric all the way across the back. If you want, use your side clamps so you're not pulling this like super tight and getting it off kilter. You can make some adjustments along the way, but we are going to again remove one of these pins, and we are going to pin all 3 pieces together. With that done, you can go to, a few parts or add some pins to keep it in line. Have you ever used these pins? This is the Magic long arm pins, and they're long and straight and thick. They work really, really nicely. All right, I've got some pins along there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that all of this fabric is tucked underneath the table for like your ruler table or whatever for the long arm. And, just for my own whatever, I am going to pin this. So I can take these pins out later when I'm starting to sew down the line. I'm going to pin like 5 inches away from this original line. This will help the fabric stay in place. So I am going to run a straight stitch. I want all of this fabric underneath to really lay flat. I don't want it to fold back on itself. I need it to sit still. Now this flannel is really nice because I have a straight line I can follow. If you don't have one, you can use a channel lock on your machine. I probably should anyways, but I do not have a digitized machine. This is all hand. Next thing I'm going to do is pull the machine way forward. I'm going to make sure that any extra fabric is pushed behind that table for the machine because I don't want it in my stitch. I am going to start on this left side and I am going to just take a long straight stitch all the way along one line on my flannel. So again, I've got a flannel, I can follow the line, it makes it really easy. If you don't have a line on your flannel, then you can use a ruler or your channel lock. All right, what I can do now is take my pins out. And I can take my original pins out. Now, if that seam is really thick, you will want to trim along that seam. So I might do that just before I add it back on because it is more than like ½ inch. So I could have cut it before, but either will work. So if you look at this, how it's done now, I've got this big seam right here. You can pull this back out. I didn't need to add a whole lot, so my piece isn't super big, but it is just enough, and that looks good. So I'm going to roll this back. I'm going to cut the excess from this seam. I do have the Sew Tights magnets, but it's not put on my machine quite yet. I need to get those out. All right, so this is all on. Then we can just roll it up like regular. So now you can see that my quilt ends here, my backing ends here, and we are all set. I just need to smooth this all out, reset my machine on it, and we are good to go. So I would love to know, have you ever done this? Have you ever tried it? Do you have any tips or hints, tricks that you have used to make this happen for you? The thing I want to avoid is having that seam really close to the end. So the deeper you can sew that addition on, the better, because then when you're putting the binding on, it's not going to be right there at the end. Mine was really close, so I did do it like 5 inches in. Also, use those side clamps if you need to keep things up and out of the way. That really is important because you don't want to catch that extra that you're trying to unfold later into that seam. So I hope that you find this helpful, and if you ever get stuck in this situation, you can kind of look and know what to do.